Welcome to the Ho-Ho Show.
Rated the #1 most listened to podcast on Pluto. So join us now as we discuss news, politics, current events, and so much more. So clear the airwaves and strap in as we
defend the Constitution, because freedom matters.
Broadcasting live from the Park Studio. Welcome to the Ho-Ho Show, and as always, I'm your host, Ho-Ho. So how y'all's doing? I hope you're doing good. I really do. So guys, all right. So it's been a while. All right, like 5 years, give or take, that I have, gone to the eye doctor and updated my prescription. And as I figured, I have gotten a little bit more blind, which, I mean, hey, come on, it comes with age, but I'm still kind of proud of my eyes because, whenever I first started getting contacts, I was like 21 years old-ish, and then I was negative 3.25. Now I'm negative 4.0, but something has happened that I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, really? And it just started with this new prescription, because now with my updated contact prescription, I can't, okay, that's fuzzy. I got to use bifocals now. I'm so upset. Well, not bifocals. I don't have bifocals. I'm using reading glasses now because otherwise I can't see words. I got to do like this number in order to read them, and I can't say as if I feel bad because my dad, okay, he never got bifocals. I think he might've gotten one pair of bifocals, but he didn't use them, and that's an if he got bifocals. But what I remember him doing, and I used to make fun of him for doing this, he used to take his glasses off and then put whatever he was reading like right up to him. That's I used to make fun of him because of that. And now it's like, with my contacts in, I got to use reading glasses. I don't really know with my actual glasses if I need reading glasses or not. I'm not, if I need bifocals or not, I don't know. If I have to end up getting bifocals, I'm going to be upset though. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm going to be upset. This is ridiculous. I don't like this whole getting old thing. I really don't. So, that being said, I do have a couple things to throw out there before we really get started with the show. First of all, I have done a lot of updating on the website. So now if you go to thehohoshow.com, instead of sending you to Ho-Ho Studios, it sends you to thehohoshow.com. Same for Black Mirror Podcast. It goes where it's supposed to. I finally got all that crap fixed. I'm working on the website, getting things updated. In fact, I even updated Ho-Ho Studios quite a bit because I realized there's still a lot of like pictures and, that not mine, things that I didn't put in there. So, I'm working on that. I've gotten a lot of things updated in there. So go ahead and jump on over and, take a look at that when you get a chance. Now, let's see what else we got. Oh yeah. Now I'll do that later. So anyway, y'all know how I like to start the podcast. I like to go in and I like to do, some satire. And, the home of the satire that I use is the Babylon Bee. It's an awesome place for satire articles, especially considering most of the time what they do is satire with a purpose. And I think that's absolutely amazing. Now, today I do have some magazine, I did put a magazine together for all this, but for the most part, I'm not going to be talking about the articles. Instead, which they are still going to be. There's like 42 of them, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. But they're going to be used more or less for reference purposes for y'all's, because I'm mostly going to be talking about a couple topics. Two things that I really think are important that we need to discuss. And, of course, the first one, as you can imagine from the title of this episode, vote, 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 that we are in the final days, ladies and gents. We really are. 9 days to go time. Remember the 5th of November, and I'm not going to finish the rest of that. We really do need to go to the ballot box, let our voices be heard, because some of the things that I am hearing are very hopeful. Again, hat tip Dan Bongino, no red wave talk. I don't want to hear it. However, we need, we need to fight like hell on this. We really do. We need to act like, we need to act like we're the third monkey and it's starting to rain, ladies and gents. That's how we need to act whenever it comes to this presidential election. Go out, bank your vote early. Don't wait for election day just in case, and that even applies to people like me that are in a that are in a blue state, liberal controlled. I'm in Illinois, California, as we call it sometimes here in the state, downstate. So, I don't really anticipate any issues, but they are kind of forecasting already that there may be issues, but we'll talk more about that later. Let's start off with a little bit of satire. And normally I only do one satire article. Today I've got two. One of them because it's absolutely hilarious. The other one because it really fits in with today's show. So let's start off with this article from the Babylon Bee headline. The Babylon Bee editorial board endorses Kamala Harris for president, and whenever I read this, I had to absolutely laugh. Holy crap. While other fake news organizations like the Washington Post and LA Times refuse to save democracy, we at the Babylon Bee are proud to do our part. Today, the esteemed editorial board of the Babylon Bee has officially voted to endorse Kamala Harris for president. That's funny. Continuing on. In 2020, the Babylon Bee famously endorsed Dave for president, discovering only later that Dave was a role played by actor Kevin Kline in a movie that hit the box office in 1993. This year, we resolved to endorse an actual person, and that person is Kamala Harris. Why Kamala? Take a look at this incredible list of just a few of her achievements. And, I'm sorry, when you read these, you're going to laugh. You really are. And, reading this, I did. I laughed. I did. I laughed a lot. I laughed because, they're pointing out things about Kamala Harris that not all people know. And that's kind of unfortunate, if you ask me. It really is. Let's go ahead and continue with the article. As a young San Francisco lawyer, broke into politics by using her stunning intellect to win the favor of 60-year-old Mayor Willie Brown. Yeah, because Kamala Harris got her start by being the bed buddy of Willie Brown. We all know this. She was his girlfriend, and she got her appointment because of that relationship with Willie Brown. We all know this. This isn't news for us. Yeah. Continuing on with point number 2, ran for president in 2020 and earned 0 votes, proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that she was in it purely for the love of the game. That's right. In 2020, during the primaries, Kamala Harris ran against, several other people, and she got out like very early, like before Iowa. So I mean, she got out really early. She basically didn't get like what, 0.1% of the vote is, like, technically speaking what she got. It's ridiculous. I mean, she barely got any votes whatsoever. Number 3, after Joe Biden announced that he would select a woman of color as VP, she was the woman of color. That's right, ladies and gents. She was the DIY hire. DIY? DIE? DEI? DEI hire? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. DEI hire. That's what she was. She didn't get nominated because of her ability. She didn't get nominated because of her, her intellect. She didn't get hired because of, she was good for the job, that she qualified for the job. She got hired. She got selected as VP because she was the DEI hire. Or as I like to put it, the DIE hire, because it's all about diversity, inclusion, and equity. Because if you use that kind of a thing, it's death. That's why it's DIE hire, not DEI hire. Let's continue. This one I had to laugh about. When Mike Pence was trying to turn America to fascism, bravely intervened by saying, "I am speaking. I'm speaking now. I'm speaking. It's me. I'm speaking now." Anyway, was such a popular vice president that over 12 million people killed thousands of miles from, or hiked thousands of miles from South America to come meet her. She is brat. Never mind. Here we go. Here's the last one. So beloved that she became the first person in history to win a primary without receiving a single vote. And that is so true. Okay, because during this year's primary, the DNC primary 2024, she was not running as president. If you would remember, she was on the ballot, sure, but it was as the VP to Joe Biden. And Joe Biden was forced out of the race. How this ended up happening, I am not really sure. But what I think it was a little bit of a hostile takeover, a coup, if you will. Because he wasn't, he didn't get removed from office for any health type of a reason. That wasn't anything that was stated. He backed down after the primary, after he was already selected and people had voted for him. He backed out, but before the DNC, the Democrat National Convention. So, I mean, he backed out before then, but he was still on the ticket up until. There's even some legalities as far as, them removing him from the ballot, even, because Kamala Harris didn't do all that stuff before they needed to. But anyway, I digress. The Democrat Party, those who claim that democracy is the way to go, those that even claim that the United States of America is indeed a democracy, even though we are not, the Pledge of Allegiance clearly says, "And to the republic for which it stands." But again, I digress. She wasn't elected for the 2024 president nominee for the Democrat Party. She was selected. Let me say that again. She was not elected. She was selected. Nobody voted for her. She was selected. The Democrat Party, who claim to love democracy, don't care about democracy whenever it comes to selecting who's going to be the nominee. And she's horrible, people. She really is. She is absolutely horrible. She is her worst enemy in this campaign. She really is. I mean, the best thing that Donald Trump has going for him is himself as a Republican nominee. The worst thing, and I have to include, and I apologize for not doing this, I have to include Vance in on that as well. And I tell you what, I don't know about you, but with me, whenever I first heard that Donald Trump had, selected J.D. Vance as his running mate for VP, I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't. I mean, I had some ideas, and I kind of went along the same mindset that Matt Locke of Voice of the Working Man podcast had whenever he was like, I want, and you may get a kick out of this, I want Donald Trump Jr. as the running mate because, and even though I'm against dynasty, I really am. I'm against the whole dynasty thing. I very much am. Okay. We had two Bushes. We didn't need a third, even though he did run in 2020, or 2016, actually. We don't need a dynasty. We don't need another Clinton. We don't need another, sorry to say it, JFK, or Kennedy. My bad. We don't need another Kennedy. We just don't. We don't need dynasty type of things. But in this case, I was like, I like this just for the simple fact is you're running, it's not a dynasty type of a thing. It's a running mate. It's of the same administration. And it's like, dude, Trump Jr. is probably more conservative than what Trump is. I mean, holy crap. Can you imagine? Oh, that'd be awesome. Anyway, let's continue on. But that's who I wanted to see as the running mate. Whenever he picked Vance, it was like, for me, he was an unknown. I hadn't done much research looking into who J.D. Vance was. And I know that there are people out there that really don't like J.D. Vance as a running mate, one of which being Candace Owens. She doesn't like him because in her view, the establishment isn't afraid of him, therefore he must be, in a sense, more controllable than what Trump is. And in which case I kind of disagree because, and I'll tell you why. I disagree because their first problem is Trump. Why focus on the secondary problem until the first one is taken care of? And that's kind of where my point of view goes, because they really didn't attack Pence. They really didn't attack him. They did, but at the same time, they didn't. I mean, they attacked him because he was on the ballot. They were trying to make him look bad and in turn trying to make Trump bad. And there you go. And they're doing the same thing with Vance, but, it's not as, you don't see the attacks like you do with Trump. You just don't. But that to me doesn't mean that, J.D. Vance is going to be easily controllable or part of the establishment or anything like that, because you look at what the man says and how, what he has done. You read his book, there you go. And it seems to me like President Trump did a good job, especially after some of the things that Vance had done, the interviews, was there a debate? Yeah, there was a debate, and yeah, so I mean, it seemed like he did a pretty good job. And I love listening to this man whenever he's doing interviews because, he says a lot of the things that we wish people would say, right? Because that's one of the things, as far as I'm concerned, that, a huge downfall of the Republican Party is they don't fight. They don't know how to fight. As soon as they get accused of something, that they kowtow, they back down. They're like, Ermiger, don't hate me, please. And then they cower in the corner. They got to have their safe space. And that's one of the things that hugely ticks me off with Republicans. And for the most part, the reason why is because, one, they don't want to lose favor with the establishment. But for the most part, it's because most of these people are rhinos. Republican in name only. That's what most of them are. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner we can get these people out of office, and maybe we could have, people in Congress, House of Representatives, and senators alike that are more apt to do the will of the people. Now, as Dan Bongino says, and hat tip to him, Republicans may not be the solution, but Democrats are definitely the problem. So either way you look at it, what we need to do is kind of bite the bullet and go ahead and vote. And that's my point in this whole entire segment. You got to get out and vote. You really do. This country is heading somewhere, and I don't like where it's heading. The headline that was the big thing that I had to put in here, because, you know, with it being 9 days away, with it being October, 9 days away from the election, that you know that the October surprises are here, and they've already been coming, and a lot of different things has been coming out and trying to make Trump look bad. That's what they're doing. Okay. This headline from the Babylon Bee, which was my first choice, but I had to include the other one because it was funny and relevant. Headline, worst allegation yet. Woman claims in 1993 that Trump touched her inappropriately with classified documents while praising Hitler. Ermiger. And, you know, isn't that the next headline you're kind of looking for? I mean, you know, the Babylon Bee did a great job with this satire article, this headline. I didn't read the article itself. It was, you know, for me, this whole thing was about the headline. And it's like, wow, that's appropriately accurate with what you would expect to see coming out of, you know, mainstream media. It just, yeah. You know, a woman claims that Trump touched her inappropriately, the whole classified document things, and they always keep on saying it and you know, calling Trump Hitler, saying that he is Hitler-like. I mean, holy crap, how many times, you know, and here's the thing that's annoying to me. Here's the thing that's annoying. Let me take a drink of my coffee. I've held it long enough. Let me go ahead and take a drink. Speaking of coffee, got to take a sidetrack here for a second. Got to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole. I have been drinking for several years now. What's that coffee? Holy crap, man! I hate it whenever I do that. My brain just completely. Black Rifle Coffee Company. Holy crap, man. Black Rifle Coffee Company has been, you know, the coffee that I've been drinking for, you know, several years now, 2 or 3 years. And, you know, they got some good flavors out there. They really do. And, you know, they are a veteran-owned company. And I've been listening to Bongino for a while, and you know, his coffee brand of choice is Blackout Coffee, so I had to give him a shot. You know, I'm like, I gotta try this stuff. I really do. And I had gotten pods of the cinnamon French toast, and I tried that this morning, and like, wow, that was really good. And for grounds, I got the double dark chocolate, and that's what I'm drinking in this cup right now. And I'm almost out, so I'm going to have to get me a refill on the next break. Good stuff, though. Holy crap. I definitely recommend checking them guys out. That is Blackout Coffee. I get nothing for this. I really don't. You know, it's just, it's good coffee. It is, you know, veteran-owned. They have even a section in there of different coffee grounds where you can basically contribute to these other organizations. I'm not going to go over that right now. I probably won't go over that right now. Just head on over to blackoutcoffee.com. Blackoutcoffee.com. Check them guys out. See what they got. You know, it's good stuff. It really is. Moving on. Coffee. This headline from the Babylon Bee. Worst allegation yet. Woman claims in 1993 that Trump touched her inappropriately with classified documents while praising Hitler. So here's the thing. Here's the thing that I want to note on this, and then, you know, we'll continue on. The left is doing everything they can to make Trump look bad. I've been paying attention for a while, listening to a lot of different people. I've given you the list of all the various people that I listen to and articles and other things that I go to, so I'm not going to reiterate that now. but it's a the left is terrified. Okay, the left is terrified, and there are several reasons why. One of which because Kamala Harris absolutely sucks. She can't do an interview, not effectively, because she's unrelatable for people. Okay, she comes off so fake. It's not even funny because she doesn't have an idea in her head at all. She's a blank slate, which is one of the reasons why the left absolutely loves her and adores her, because she's a blank slate. She'll do more or less whatever the party, whatever the deep state wants her to do. And she's even basically come out and said it whenever they were talking about, what was it? I think it was the whole Israeli thing. I think one of the things that whenever she was asked in an interview what she would do about that, it was more or less whatever them people wanted her to do. Good grief. The UN. Yeah, whatever the UN wanted her to do, it was basically going to be the stance and position that she took. And it's like, are you kidding me? Do you not understand that Israel is like the only democracy over there in the Middle East, and they are our longest allies, I think longest allies, maybe the longest allies. I'm not 100% sure on that, but they're definitely an ally, and a big ally at that. Are you going to ignore that? Are you going to ignore that Israel is an ally? And you're basically saying that you're not going to take care of them? Because we all know the UN's position whenever it comes to Israel. They don't like him any more than Iran does. They just have to be more diplomatic about it. And that's all it really amounts to. She has no position of her own. She has flip-flopped. She has changed her position more times than I changed my underbritches. Maybe I shouldn't word that like that. Here we go. She changes her opinions more than you got to change a baby's diaper. There you go. That's more accurate, isn't it? That sounds pretty good. I like that. We'll go with that. That's how often she flip-flops on things. I mean, it's against fracking, and then she's for fracking, and then against fracking, and then for fracking, and then against fracking, and then for fracking. I almost said the wrong thing there. But she's flip-flopped, and it all depends on who it is she's talking to as to what position she's going to take. I got to check over here in Rumble, because Rumble, God love him, and I'm glad to be over here broadcasting live on Rumble. I really am. I appreciate all y'all's. I really do. And, I appreciate all of you. I really do. I thank you very much for being here, for, taking a look-see at the show, for listening over there in podcast land, because it is available wherever podcasts can be found. Just search out for The Ho Ho Show. But I simulcast the video side to X, Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook. I take it to 3 different places, which is fun for me. But over on the Rumble side, the chat isn't integrated with OBS, which, is kind of a bummer. But, it's like whatever. I can just, take a look at it and, see if anybody's chatting. I just got to remember to, look at it from time to time. So that's where we're at. Kamala Harris is a blank slate. She's horrible. She has no positions. And, that's why in interviews she doesn't do very well. Just what, yesterday? Friday maybe. Friday, Donald Trump had a 3-hour, I don't want to call it interview, with Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan Experience. I don't want to call it an interview, because here's the thing, okay? A lot of people out there are very good about doing interviews. I'm kind of so-so whenever it comes to doing interviews. I've done some good ones. I've done some bad ones. I really have. I'm not going to point you to those. You don't need to listen to them. Just trust me. So I'm so-so when it comes to my interview ability. And there are people out there that are far better than me. But Joe Rogan is one of the masters. okay, if not the master, because he doesn't interview people as you would say. You know, he does a long format interview, and it's not an interview so much as it is a discussion. You know, he's trying to really get down into the topics and see who you are. I mean, he's interviewed a lot of different people. Now, granted, okay, I've not watched a single full episode of Joe Rogan and the Joe Rogan Experience. I haven't, you know. But I have watched a lot of different clips with him, with various other people, and yes, Joe Rogan he's a master of the interview, because he has a discussion with people to really find out who they are, where they stand on different issues. And I highly recommend checking out that episode that he had with President Trump. And last I looked, okay, here's the thing, okay? And I'm sure that other people have pointed this out. You know, you've got some of the interviews that Kamala Harris has done. The views on these episodes are lacking at best. I mean, they are absolutely horrible. It's a train wreck. It really is. But whenever you look at how Trump has been performing on these, you know, same interviews, well, not same interviews, but, you know, with the interviews that he has done, there's no comparison, okay? There is no comparison. A day ago, well, I think it's been a little bit longer than a day ago, because last night I checked it, it was like 23 hours, so it's been like a day and a half. Let's just go with there. A day and a half ago is whenever Donald Trump had he appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience. Are you ready for this? It already has. I don't think you're ready for this. I really don't. I don't see how you can be ready for this, to hear how many views this episode has over on YouTube, and it's YouTube. 27 million. Can you believe that? 27 million. I gotta throw a little bit of, you know, maybe I should have, you know, he's got 27 million views. Should have done that beforehand. I really should have. But anyway, that's a lot of freaking views, people. And I'm a third of the way into it. I've watched about an hour of it already. I've watched about an hour of it already. I still got more to watch. I haven't gone the whole way into it. And it's a good discussion between the two people. It really is. And again, you get to find out a lot more about who President Trump is as a person, as an individual, as a candidate, you know, where his heart is on a lot of these different things. You find out, I found out quite a bit already. But with us only being 9 days away, I can't believe that, man, 9 days away. Pay attention. Basically, everything you hear coming out of the left whenever it comes to, you know, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, just I don't even want to say take it with like a grain of salt. I don't even want to say that. You know, because you can pretty well bet on the fact that anything you hear coming from mainstream media, coming from social media even, you know, you got to pay attention to the source. It's going to be an attack. It's going to be false. It's going to be Bravo Sierra. It's not going to be true. Baseless accusations. And talking about baseless accusations, let's talk about the most recent one, which is what the headline was talking about. It was another person whom accused Trump of groping her. Okay. Now we're going to talk about two different people right now. We're going to talk about, what's his name, Doug? Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Humhoff, Humijigger? Yeah. We're going to talk about Doug. I guess it's Doug. I can't remember. But here's the thing, okay? Let's draw some contrasts, okay? Because Kamala Harris's husband is under some scrutiny as well. You know, he's under scrutiny for assaulting an ex-girlfriend. I have a hard time with that word. You see, I have a speech impediment, or at least I used to did, and it was in my pronunciation of R's. And with girlfriend, That's a hard one for me to say. It is. I mean, it's just that my tongue is doing like two things at the same time, and my tongue, however it can multitask, it does a good job. At least that's what she told me. Is it's a good time. But it's rough on my tongue to do girlfriend. I got to focus on that one. Holy crap, that's funny. That's ridiculous. Okay, anyway, moving on. He's been accused of physically assaulting an ex girlfriend. I'm okay, really, I am. And Trump is being accused of assaulting groping, inappropriately touching a woman, not an ex. And from what it sounded like, this is the first time that this person had ever met Trump. But let me go ahead and point it out to you. What happened, okay? The differences between the two, okay? So you have President Trump, or the accuser, saying that she left with Epstein. She left his brownstone and was on their way to Trump Tower to meet and talk to President Trump. And this happened back in 1993, 92, 93. She's kind of, not 100% sure. It was, one or the other. And whenever they got to him, he started just basically rubbing her down, groping her, rubbing her. His hands were on Star Trek. They were boldly going where no man has gone before. But from what it sounds like, plenty of men have gone there. But that's beside the point. Beside the point. And of which case it's already suspect, one, because it came out, very, a week and a half before, a week to 2 weeks before the election. And it's like, that makes it pretty suspect anyway. The other thing that makes it suspect is it's not true. Or at least I say it's not true because facts don't line up. You see, Epstein did not own the brownstone back in 1993. He didn't own the brownstone until sometime either in 1995 or 96. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but it was one or the other. Point is, in 1993, whenever she's claiming this happened, Epstein did not own the brownstone. So how can they have left the brownstone that Epstein owned if Epstein didn't own the brownstone? Facts aren't lining up right here, people. It just, hello. Anyway, that's a big thing, okay? That's a big thing. And let's move over to Dougie Doug with his accusation of assaulting an ex-girlfriend. You see, as far as the story goes on this one, they were leaving a restaurant, I believe. Okay, they walked up to the valet to get their car, and I guess the girlfriend, put her hand on the valet's shoulder, slipping him some money to say, hey, could you get my car quickly, please? I would appreciate it. And Dougie Doug got all upset, thinking that she was just plain old flat out hitting on the valet. And he smacked the ever-loving crap out of her, hit her so hard that she spun around. And apparently this isn't the first person to, accuse Dougie Doug of this type of behavior. Apparently it's not. And she wasn't the one whom first reported what had happened. And it was one of her friends. And in the beginning, they didn't even report who she was. She didn't come out, and make it public that it was her. And finally, that information did come out. And what she said is for her reason of coming out and talking about this was because she is seeing him on the national stage. He is being viewed as the quintessential masculine man, the, what everybody should strive to be. And here he is, claiming to be this excellent, amazing person. And she knows this about his past. And that's why she came forward with these allegations. And let me just be honest with you on something. To me, that sounds way more believable than the allegations against Trump. And let me tell you why. Okay. Trump has been a cultural icon for years. Okay. For years. He had The Apprentice, which I think started in 2007. He was on that. He's been in hip hop songs for freaking years. He was in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. I think it even took place in Trump Tower, but he did a cameo in that movie. And that was 1993 or 92. 92, 93. Hold on, let me see. When did Home Alone 2 come out? Home Alone Dos aquí. It came out in 92. Okay, 92. My apologies, it came out in 92. My point is, President Trump has been in the spotlight, okay? And he ran for president in 2016, ran for president in 2020, and is now again running for president in 2024. This isn't the first time that the person making the allegation has had an opportunity to see Trump. It's not. So, why have you not come forward? With the other allegation against Dougie Doug, it's believable because Dougie Doug hasn't been in the spotlight. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't remember seeing him or even them talking about him prior to, recently. Him being the husband of Kamala Harris, being regarded as the soon to be crowned, first gentleman. He's not been in the spotlight before. I don't even remember him being in the spotlight whenever Kamala Harris was running as VP. I don't remember. And if he was, I apologize. I'm sorry. But he just wasn't that important for me to remember. Either way you look at it. But he's just now becoming part of the spotlight. Just now being put on the world stage for people to see. And let me tell you something. It's a whole lot easier to not think about something when the person isn't there, okay? When you're not being forced to look at something, hear about something, when somebody isn't in the limelight, when you're not seeing news articles about a particular somebody, it's a lot easier to ignore them. But when they're in your face, you're constantly reminded about something. You're constantly reminded about that person. You're constantly reminded about the thing that happened to you. And that's the case here. He's been in the spotlight recently. They're talking about him. They have a narrative around who this person is, and she just couldn't take it anymore. She couldn't take the narrative. Because for her, they weren't true. And that's why she came forward finally with this allegation of assault. And like I said, other people has come out too. So, that is a lot more believable than, the allegation just now coming out against President Trump, because President Trump has been in the limelight. President Trump has been in movies, the subject of numerous songs back in the day. He's ran for president in 2016, 2020, and now in 2024, he was on The Apprentice. He's been a cultural icon. Hello. And for her to just now come forward and say these allegations against Trump, and that's just ignoring the fact that, the details don't line up with facts. And you're kind of seeing the same thing that what happened to Brett Kavanaugh whenever he was going to be the Supreme Court justice. The facts didn't line up. My point is, you're going to see some things here, and already have, I'm sure, have been seeing things that are trying to paint Trump in a very negative light. Don't believe everything you read. Don't believe everything you see. Don't just automatically take what they're saying for granted. President Trump has been in the limelight for numerous years. He's been a cultural icon since the 90s. We already know who he is. People whom are choosing to vote for Donald J. Trump to be our next president, number 47, we're not voting for him because he is a bastion of morals. We know that he's had a shady past in that. He's had multiple wives. Hello. Numerous baby daddies. Hello. That's not why we're voting for him. We're voting for him because, as Dave of Dumbing It Down with Dave has said, we're voting for him because he's a pragmatist. He's pragmatic on his approach to different things. We want him to stop what the left is doing. We want him to shut the border down, and we know he's going to do it. We want him to lower taxes, and we know he'll do it. We want him to help with the inflation, and we know he can do it because he's already done it. He's done it once before. He can do it again. We want him to, as the slogan says, make America great again. That's what we want. And he's already proven that he can do it because he's done it once before. Kamala Harris, complete unknown, but not really, because she's been VP. And the problem that Kamala Harris is having in this election is she's trying to distance herself from the chaos that is the Biden-Harris administration. She's trying to distance herself from the border, even though she was nominated and called the border czar to take care of the border and do it in Joe Biden's stead. He called her that. And media echoed it until it was no longer convenient for them to echo that. And then they ran away from it because what's going on down at the border is chaos. Millions upon millions of people flooding across the border, being flown across the border, and the only thing that they're interested in doing is helping the flow of illegals and not stopping the flow of illegals. And that's why people want Trump, because we know what he'll do because he's already done it. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, is trying to run away from it, even though she was the border czar. Even though day one was January 6th of 2021 or January 20th of 2021. That was day one. If she wanted to make these changes that she's claiming that she wants to make, she would have done it years ago. She wouldn't be waiting until she's the president because she's claimed that, one, she wouldn't have done anything different than what Joe Biden has done during his presidency. And yet she wants to claim that she's different from Joe Biden, that she is, that this isn't going to be a continuation of the Biden-Harris administration. It's going to be a whole new administration. Whole new as in what? What are we going to see different? Well, in her own words, it was absolutely nothing. That she can't think of anything that she would have changed, and that's something that she said on The View whenever she was interviewed by those hags. She said that she can't think of anything that she would change. In fact, that she was present and there and played an intricate role in the decisions that were being made during the Biden-Harris administration. Her words, not mine. So she's trying to distance herself from the chaos while claiming that her experience is being part of the chaos. Well, you can't have it both ways, Kamala. You really can't. Either you're a clean slate. I'm sorry. Either you're going to do something new and something different, or we're going to get more of the same, and you can't claim both. You can't claim your experience and being an intricate role, and that's why people should vote for you, and claim to have nothing to do with this administration. You can't have both. It's just not possible. You can't freaking do it. Nobody truly believes her, and that's why she is in the downward spiral that she is in. The more she goes out there, the more her polls drop. Now, I didn't actually see. There was a couple things that happened recently as part of, and I don't remember the voting site. Maybe you alls do, but after recently, Harris has dropped in the bidding in the voting site. I forget what it is. It's, I would know the name if I heard it, but I don't remember it. But anyway, yeah. And the voting thing is something that is valid to look at. And let me tell you why. When you're talking polls, depending on where you're seeing them from, they can sway these polls however they want to. And these polls are very interesting because all of them are really, really, really closing the gap for President Trump. And in fact, in like every swing state right now, Trump is ahead. And Kamala Harris in a few other states, which have been historically blue, or at least for some time, she's not leading by much. And the problem with these polls are they have always underperformed. Trump has always underperformed. And, well, they always try to swing it in the benefit of the Democrat, in this case, Kamala Harris. And from what I have heard from people whom have sources, people that they call and contact and rely on in the know, is that in these polls, you've got Trump that is underperforming by like 4 points. And Kamala is overperforming by like 4 points. No, backwards. Yeah, Trump is underperforming and Kamala is overperforming. So let's say, for instance, that's just so you know, that's an 8-point swing. So if you're seeing a poll that says Kamala is ahead by 1 point, she's actually behind by like 7. Trump is ahead by 7. That's more or less what we got. Now, the closer to election we get, the more accurate these polls are going to become. But the internal polling, they are, as in they being the Democrat Party, they are absolutely terrified. And there's not a better way to put that. They're terrified. They're scared. They're running scared because they see what the polls are. And what we see is not accurate to what's actually going on. Their internal polls are way more accurate. And that's why you're seeing them do some of the things that they're doing. It was funny because Trump did did ads, spent quite a bit of money on ads in like several hip hop radio stations, whatever, I forget where on, but that was a story that I heard. And it was kind of one of the things that, Trump campaign was like poking the bear. It's, let's do this and let's see what happens, because we're seeing our own internal polls. And what our internal polls are showing us is that, not only are they leading in every single swing state, not only are they leading, pretty decent in several other states, not only are they really closing the gap to where it looks like President Trump has a very good chance of actually winning not just the Electoral College, but the popular vote. Holy crap. That's amazing. That hasn't happened since Bush, one of the Bushes. I forget which. I forget whether it was HW or W. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. But this is the first time. That's huge. And, the Trump campaign are like, these are the numbers that we're seeing. And, if our numbers are accurate, let's just poke the bear and see what happens, because if the polls are accurate, we're going to put an ad campaign here. And if the Kamala Harris campaign does nothing, then we know that the polls are wrong, and we'll formulate a game plan based on that. But if our polls are right, then the Harris campaign is going to do something to counter our ads. And that's exactly what happened. The Trump campaign put all these ads on hip hop radio, and it was either the same day or the day after that the Kamala Harris campaign did the same thing. Basically proving that the internal polls that are being done are far more accurate than what we are actually seeing. The Harris campaign is terrified. So my point in all this is we have a chance, people. We really do. The too big to rig is what we're hearing people say. That's how hard we need to hit whenever it comes to voting. We need to make it too big to rig. We need to come out, even if you are in a state like mine, a blue state, where we ain't got a chance of actually winning even probably the popular vote over here in Illinois, but our vote is still going to count. I'll be voting on Monday. I'm actually excited to vote. And vote down ballot. Please don't forget to vote down ballot, because here's the thing. If you don't, if we end up losing the House, we lose the Senate, what good is another Trump presidency going to do? There's only so much he can do as the executive. He absolutely needs Congress. Without Congress is dead in the water. We need to keep the House. We need to win the Senate. We need to do this. We need to do this in such a way as to give Trump a buffer to where he ain't got to worry all the time about things that need to go through Congress. That's why that's why Trump didn't get more accomplished during his 2016 to 2020 term, because he lost. They were very slow to act. There wasn't a big enough of a buffer, enough that was needed in order to counter the Rhino Republicans, which is what we need. We need to go in there and we need to vote big. We need to remove these people, these Democrats, from office, install our own people in there, hopefully get rid of some Rhino Republicans along the way, give him a big enough of a buffer to where it don't matter. And we need to do this to save the country. Because if we don't, we already know what's in store for this country. We know that the very first thing that Kamala Harris is going to do, and I'm surprised they haven't done it yet. I mean, I really am, but they haven't had Congress's, backing in order to do it yet, but they want amnesty. That's what they want. And if they get it, you can say goodbye to the Republic. The Republic is dead. And we will be fast-tracked. We will be fast-tracked to socialism. Because that's what the left wants. As former President Barack Hussein Obama famously stated, that he wants to fundamentally change the United States. And boy, did he ever get the ball rolling. He did. He got the ball rolling. Trump stopped it, put a pause on it. He's trying to and wants to reverse it. He wants to shrink the size of government. He wants to make these bureaucrats and technocrats, he wants to make them servient to the executive branch, as they should be. I don't mean enslaved as in, they have to do his bidding, but in a matter of speaking, yeah, I do. Because these different bureaus, like the Department of Education, the Department of Justice, well, maybe less on the Department of Justice, as long as the Department of Justice isn't weaponized against the foes, it isn't all that bad. But, that's what we need. We need that type of thing to happen. We need the government to be shrank. We need these different agencies to lose their funding, not just lose their funding. We need to get rid of them. The FBI needs a total breakdown and build it up from the ground up, because it's ridiculous right now. I mean, holy crap. It's been weaponized. The deep state has been weaponized, and the deep state goes far beyond, the FBI, CIA, Department of Justice, Department of Education, Housing and Urban Development. There's so many different departments. And they all need to be subject to the executive branch, because they are part of the executive branch. You also ever heard the song, I think it's by The Who, or maybe, I think it's by The Who. I don't remember. Here's the new boss, same as the old boss. My point is, so what if you elect a new president? Because if all of these people stay the same, you're not going to get anything different coming out of government. I did a thing a while back ago. Let me shrink this for a second. And it was, maybe this is it. Nope, that's not it. It was, where would that be? Maybe it's in here. Oh, no, that's not it. That's definitely not it. All right, here we go. This is where it is. But what it was a spreadsheet where I was talking about, here it is, laws versus regulations, okay? That's this sheet that I put together, all right? And in this sheet, I had a bunch of different information that I put out there, okay? Now, I'm going to move this over here so that this way you all can see it too, all right? Because this goes back to 1995, and I ended it in 2016. Let me show you this Excel sheet, okay? Let me pull this back up so I can, okay, here you go. So you've got all these various years of laws that were written by Congress, which, here's the thing. Laws are to be written by Congress. That's the whole point of the legislative branch, is to write laws. That's what they are there for, all right? The total laws in 1995 that were passed were 88. Total regulations that came out of various departments in the executive branch, which the executive branch does not have the power to write laws, people. Remember that, was 4,713, a grand total of 44,801, 98%, 98.17% of everything. Let me put this a different way. Only 1.83% of all the laws/regulations, the things that you had to follow or, under penalty of law, only 1.83% was actually written by the legislative branch, the branch of government that is the only branch that has the power to write laws. 1.83%. Everything else was written by the executive branch in the form of a regulation. Regulations that still carry the weight of law. I'm governed by the Department of Transportation. If I violate the hours of service regulations and I get caught, I get ticketed. I have to pay a fine. Did I violate a law written by the legislative branch, or did I violate a regulation that was written by the executive branch? I violated a regulation, but it carries the weight of law. I don't pay that ticket. I go to jail. I lose my freedom. It's the same thing. But it was written by the executive branch. It was written by some bureaucrat or technocrat, somebody that, just wants to input his 2 cents and make everybody follow it. The EPA is another example of this. In total, from 1995 to 2016, you had only 4,274 laws that were written. And you had 88,899 regulations that was written. And the regulations amounted to 95.41% of what you had to follow, what you had to live behind. And this is one of the things that President Trump is wanting to change. He wants to make these people subject to the people, because right now they're not. I mean, you have, and I've heard the fourth branch of government being, we the people, but I say, nay, no. We're not the fourth branch of government. We're like the 10th branch of government. The fourth branch of government are these departments. The Department of Transportation, Department of Education, Department of House and Home and Urban Development. This is the fourth branch of government. These bureaucrats and technocrats that are not elected by the people, that are not subservient to the people, that, even though we may elect a different president, we still have all these same people, and we have to hope that the president actually has the power and the authority to replace him, because in a lot of cases he does not. That's what we have to hope for. President Trump wants to change that. He wants to make these people subject to the executive branch. He wants to make it to where he can fire these people. He wants to make these organizations, these various departments, these technocrats and bureaucrats, he wants to get rid of as much as he can. That's one of the things that, Elon Musk, that's one of the things that he's wanting to do is trim the government. Make it more efficient, make it more effective, make it cheaper to run. Holy crap. Isn't like, I don't know, I don't remember the percentage of our budget that is spent on, just running the government, paying for all these various people. And here's the thing, if, it's unconstitutional the way you look at it, because, the Department of Transportation does not exist in the Constitution. It should be a function of the state. Every state has a Department of Education. They should be the ones that are in charge of the education. It is not a federal matter. It is not in the Constitution. They do not have the power to do that, but yet they were given that power. No, they weren't given that power. That power was relinquished to them by the states. And whenever the states lost their representation in government, in the federal government, and yes, they did, because the Senate used to be appointed by the state. Now they're elected. That's the 17th Amendment. I was completely and wholeheartedly against that amendment. But at any rate, I digress. We're going to go ahead and take a break. And when we get back, we are going to talk about the next issue that I've got, the next thing that I want to talk about today, and that is World War III. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we are there. It started already. You look at what's going on the world stage, and it makes it abundantly obvious and painfully true. We're in it right now. Thankfully, it hasn't gotten hot over here, but there's a very good possibility it's coming. All right, we're going to talk about that right on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Do you love your occasional Mexican dish or your musical fruit? Are you tired of walking by family members and crop dusting them? Well, if this has ever happened to you, might I introduce you to Tampons brand butt plugs. Tampons brand butt plugs is that particular type of butt plug that allows you to walk in public in confidence knowing that you're not going to accidentally crop dust somebody. Tampons brand butt plugs now with the plastic applicator.
Not just for women anymore.
Tampons brand butt plugs. All right, and we are back. So I had to extend the break a little bit. I apologize for that inconvenience, but I had to dehydrate and I had to, rehydrate by getting myself another cup of coffee. Blackout coffee, the double dark chocolate is what I got. Ooh, and it's delicious. Let me tell you, it's delicious. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get into this segment talking about World War III. And I don't want to say the possible, don't want to say the upcoming, because if you are paying attention to what's going on, the Axis and allies are forming, the battle lines are being drawn, the alliances are being formed, and you're seeing troops from other nations going into other countries to help the opposition. And let's get into that. First off, we're going to start with, where should I go? Should I go with North Korea? Or should I go with Russia? Was it China? Oh, let me scroll through this a second, because there's one fact that I don't remember. I don't remember. I had read an article about seeing troops from another country in the Ukraine in support of Russia. I don't remember what country that was, though. I don't remember if that was North Korea. I don't remember if that was China. I'm really not sure, but one or the other. So here you have another country's troops in support of Russia going into Ukraine. And I guess they've already been going over there, putting troops in there. Russia's been giving them cold weather gear and training in the, just in the environment, in the, just whatever. Yeah. Giving them some training and whatnot. And it's like, holy crap, guys, that's huge. Because so far is what we've been seeing is not other countries putting boots on the ground, but, other countries providing aid in other ways, whether it be lethal aid, whether it be humanitarian aid. That's what people have been providing so far, not boots on the ground, and a lot of that reason has to do with the UN. Because let's put it this way. Ukraine is not a member of the UN, okay? Russia is. So let's say the United States puts boots on the ground in the Ukraine, then you're talking a conflict between the United States and Russia, and the rest of the UN would be honor bound to fight against the United States, because they are, a fight breaking out between two UN nations. The UN doesn't have to support or give aid to Ukraine because Ukraine is not part of the UN. Russia being part of the UN, it's a bad thing, guys. It's a bad thing. All right. And in all honesty, with the, with World War III coming about, I mean, it's going to be ugly. Is the UN going to be dissolved after this? Is everything going to be put on hold? Is it going to survive a World War III? And I don't have the answer for that one. I mean, granted, I'm not a fan of the UN anyway. I'm really not. And that's because that the UN expects the United States should just pay for everything. Under President Trump, a lot more nations in the UN actually paid their share of the budget, because each country part of the UN is supposed to pay 2% of their GDP, into the UN. That's what, only 2%. It's a small number relative. Okay, 2% of their GDP. And these countries hasn't been forced to do that, and the money has still been there because the United States just pays for everybody. And there wasn't very many states that actually paid their share. Wasn't many countries. After President Trump, he said, you're going to start paying because we're no longer going to. You want support, you want aid, you want the troops, you want the manpower, you want the protection that the UN provides, you're going to have to start paying for it. Because we're not going to float the bill anymore. We're done. And I wish that mindset would have continued, but either way. So what's going to happen to the UN whenever this thing kicks off, whenever you have China, North Korea, South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, the various countries, whenever you hear, and I don't even know how many countries are in the UN, I really don't, but either way you look at it, the three biggest countries in there, China, Russia, the United States of America, whenever they are at ends, I don't know. I just don't. So you have either China or North Korea, and I don't remember which, is sending boots on the ground, is sending aid, sending manpower over to Russia, either gearing up for or already have sent those troops into Ukraine to, violate the sovereignty of another nation. That's what you have going on. That's huge. You have a couple other things going on. You have China carrying out war games against Taiwan, setting up blockades in this war game to shut off shipping lane traffic going to Taiwan. And just let's be honest about something, and this is a huge thing, not just for the United States, but for the rest of the world, because the rest of the industrialized world, we get a lot of things from Taiwan. That's like the technology epicenter of the world. Like a lot of the chips, a lot of, everything comes out of Taiwan. That's where all that technology is. And if China were to seize that, it could be very bad for the rest of the world. What would happen to this technology? And just as a worst case scenario type of a thing, and I say that because if it was me, I would do it. If you were the government of Taiwan and you have all this technology right there under you, okay, that is important to the world, that the rest of the world benefits from and relies on this technology, these chips, everything. Would you just let it be taken by China? Would you let your own nation be invaded and taken over by another nation without doing some irreparable damage, without completely making these different factories and this technology completely FUBAR? And I hope you know what FUBAR means. Would you just let it be taken in whole, completely and entirely? Or would you do something to sabotage the efforts? I would sabotage the efforts. I would completely make all these factories completely FUBAR, and I would let the world know that's what I would do. And here's why. You're America. We are America. Do we want that technology being, not just falling into China's hands? Do you want Taiwan to destroy everything, which would upend everything in this country, that would hinder and cripple this country? Economy, technology, everything would cripple this country. Would you want that? How much of a supply do we have? How long can it last? I mean, granted, the effects may not be felt immediately, but they will be felt. Would you want that? No, absolutely not. Knowing that, you would do what you could to at least defend the sovereignty of Taiwan in one way, shape, or form. And I don't know whether Taiwan is part of the UN. Again, it really doesn't matter in a World War III scenario, but that's what you have going on, though. China has made it clear for many years that they want control of Taiwan. They want them back. They want them back. They're already doing war games to blockade the nation in, to keep aid from from anything going in or out. I mean, either way you look at it, if they end up just doing that, it's going to cripple a lot of nations, a lot of economies. It's really, the effects are going to be felt, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're also talking an immediate stock market, effect on the stock market. Of course, you're going to have that. Technology companies everywhere, they depend on that. Many .coms, like it's so you have that going on. And the other thing that is, you got bombs being lobbed back and forth between Iran and Israel. You got that going on. I mean, that's not just a proxy war anymore. That's a hot war going on. And kudos. Excuse me. Ooh, that was a good one. Let me go ahead and take another drink. Kudos to Israel, right? Because they're not bending the knee to anyone. They're not bending the knee to the United States. They're not bending the knee to the UN. They're not bending the knee to Iran. They're not bending the knee to the Gaza Strip. They ain't bending the knee to Lebanon or nobody, and kudos to them. Because Israel has been letting the whims of other people and other nations and the United Nations, they have allowed them to interfere with their foreign affairs for long enough. I've made my position clear on how Israel should take care of Gaza and all of their enemies, treat them like Sodom and Gomorrah, lay waste to them, make peace through strength. Let it be known that you mess with Israel. I would put another explicitive in there, starting with F and ending in uck. Get wiped off. Sodom and Gomorrah. That's how I would do it. I mean, I don't know about you, but I am sick and tired of hearing in the news another bomb being lobbed at Israel. Another ceasefire agreement being broken by somebody else whom only used the ceasefire as an opportunity to, get ready to strike again. And that's all that's been happening. That's it. Good for Israel for actually, no longer accepting these platitudes that have been forced upon them. Kudos to Israel for having the backbone to actually, at least at this point, do what's necessary. And they've been doing a lot of good, haven't they? They've been doing quite a bit of good. So kudos to Israel. Another thing you got going on is something that's going on in North Korea. Okay. Now this one, I could understand how people would just ignore this, kind of gloss over it because they don't quite understand the significance behind it. But when it comes to North Korea's treatment of South Korea, You see, North Korea doesn't view it as North and South Korea. South Korea does. North Korea views it as a unified Korea. Even people of South Korea belong to North Korea. That's what Kim Jong-un, his dad, Kim Jong-il, that's what they all believed. That it isn't North and South, it is one nation, even still. That's how they treated it, okay? North Korea recently, and I don't know when, and I don't even have an article handy that even says this. Oh, I'm on the wrong page, no wonder why. And I'm probably going to get the verbiage wrong, but North Korea has declared South Korea enemies of the state. They no longer consider them to be a part of North Korea like they used to. And in a sense, what that allows North Korea to do is attack without holding back South Korea and actually invade. Consequences be damned. In essence, that's what that means. That's what they did. You know, back in the day, if you watched The Fat Electrician, you know, his episode that he did, Potential, which was an amazing episode. I loved it. I really did. One of the things that he discussed was whenever, you know, from the Barbary states, whenever they went into the embassy and chopped down the flag, that was how they declared war back in them days. And this is kind of the same thing of what we're seeing now. North Korea declared South Korea as enemies of the state, no longer part of one Korea. That's huge. That really is. So you got North Korea with South Korea. You got either North Korea or China, and I don't remember which. I apologize. If you know, let me know in the comments. Send me an email, hoho@thehohoshow.com. Let me know, because I'm curious, and you know, or an article even, and I can put it in here. Oh, here it is. Here it is, actually. Apparently I didn't scroll down enough, but this article is from the Kiev Post, Ukraine's global voice, North Korea in Ukraine. Here's that article. Ukraine and South Korea both claimed in mid-October that had deployed troops to aid Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. So yeah, North Korea is now in Ukraine. There you go. I found the article. And of course, okay, you also can go to thehohoshow.com. Just click on that news feed tab there at the upper portion of the screen, and you can see, you know, all the articles and magazines that I have available over on Flipboard, which is my go-to hub, my one-stop shop for anything, everything, and all things news. I'm a fan of Flipboard. The only thing I don't like about Flipboard, I got to be honest with you, the only thing I don't like is in order to use and view magazines that other people have curated, you have to log in, you know, and I kind of wish they allowed anonymous viewing, but I mean, as of right now, I mean, I haven't noticed anything, any selling of information, any uptick of any of that stuff, and I do try to pay attention to that. You know, but that's the only thing I don't like about Flipboard. They don't allow anonymous viewing of magazines. I wish they did. The only downside, however, they're still great at what they do. I've been using and putting there since the beginning, so there you go. So you've got North Korea announcing that South Korea is now enemies of the state. You have North Korea putting boots on the ground in Russia to help with the Ukraine invasion. You have China putting a blockade and playing various war games against Taiwan. You have Russia and China that have done various war games with an invasion into the United States of America. So here's the thing, people. World War I and World War II. Now, look, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, okay? But we've been fortunate in these last two world wars. Because with the exception of Pearl Harbor, mainland USA has not been attacked. We've not been invaded. I mean, we've been being invaded now at the southern border by numerous people of other nations, but we've not had troops, uniformed troops, invade the border of this nation. We've been very, very fortunate. However, this time with World War III, and okay, now don't get me wrong, no, I consider that aspect of it fortunate, because it's not like that everybody, I mean, come on. Everybody has somebody in their family or knows somebody that, that World War II, like, impacted. I mean, everybody does. I mean, I myself have, family members that has been in, other stages in the world, other global stages, Vietnam, North Korea, World War II, World War I. I mean, I have numerous family members that has served our military, and I'm sure that everybody has such a story that, somewhere in their family tree, or at least it has touched their lives somewhere personally. I'm sure everybody has that. And yes, I don't want to make light of that. However, we've been fortunate in the aspect that these wars, these battles hasn't been fought here on U.S. soil, with the exception of the attack on Pearl Harbor. We've been very fortunate. I don't see that happening again. I don't see us being fortunate like that a third time. I mean, I very much believe that if it kicks off, and it really looks like it's going to kick off soon, that we're not going to be that fortunate again. And I tell you what, one of the things that I have heard from various people is that they suspect that, or kind of what they're looking to happen, I guess you can say, with World War III, that it will kick off and we will be pushed into it before the election, which, with only 9 days to go, I don't know how realistic that one is. However, that it could kick off before Inauguration Day. And of which case, if that happens, one of the things that, if it kicks off beforehand, one of the campaign ways or talking points that will be thrown out there is, hey, we don't want a change of the guard. Even though Kamala Harris, I mean, for all intents and purposes, yes, she's, the sitting president right now, because where in the world is Joe Biden? But, we can't have a regime change in the beginning of a war, in the first part of the war, whatever. We need to, have continuity and whatnot. And I could also see them possibly doing martial law and just stopping the election, postponing the election, whatever. And if it's after the election, then I could see the martial law and her maintaining power. Joe Biden stepping down for her in order to actually be the president. I could see that happening. I'm not saying it will, but I do see it as a possibility. Just be aware. Pay attention to what's going on the global stage, on the world stage. Things are heating up. And, when history books remark about World War III, I really think that they are going to say that it started like at least 2 years ago. I mean, and we've seen all the warning signs pop up. And that's one of the things that's to me is interesting. I don't know about you, but to me it is. I got a buddy of mine who is a World War II junkie. Brandon Gatton, host of the Machine Radio Show. You can hear him anywhere podcasts can be found, over, just all over the place, the Machine Radio Show. He's also on YouTube, and, just check out that, search that over on YouTube. He's a World War II junkie. And he can tell you a lot of things about the lead up to World War II. Things that had happened on the world stage, different things that started it off, when it actually happened, you know, when it was a cold World War II, when it became a hot World War II, when various countries entered into World War II. And I'm sure that if you talk to him about some of these things, and maybe I'll have to have him on the show next week in order to talk about that. I think history books will record that it happened at least 2 years ago. That's just my suspicion. That's what I think is going to end up happening. So anyway, ladies and gents, that's all I got for you today. That is it. That's the show. I do thank each and every one of you for joining. I do thank you very much for popping in. I appreciate each and every one of you, even the ones that are over on, Spreaker, that will listen to the podcast after the fact. And I got to give a shout out to Linda. She's awesome. She's amazing. She listens. She comments. It's great. Her participation is phenomenal. I love it. I really do. So thank you, Linda. I do see her comments, by the way. Maybe I need to email back or something. I mean, I told a story a while back ago about narcotics. And it was funny for me. It was hilarious. And she put a comment in there. It's like, narcotics, it is a bug that is hooked on drugs, that is, a blood-sucking bug hooked on drugs. More or less is I don't know how she worded it exactly, but that's what it was. I had to laugh whenever I read that. That was hilarious to me. Anyway, Linda's awesome. All right, so like I said, that is all I got for y'all today. Head on over to Head on over to thehohoshow.com and click on that newsfeed tab to check out, the articles that, I have referenced in the show that are relevant to the show. And there you go. Head on over to the website. Actually, I've done some work on thehohoshow.com and blackmirrorpodcast.com and of course thehohoshow.com. All those things work now, thankfully. So, I mean, even by typing in thehohoshow.com, it doesn't take you a roundabout way to it. It takes you right there. I've fixed it. The links now work properly. Love it. There you go. So head on over there. Check out the webpage. I've done some work on it. All right. So yeah, you always have yourself a great one, and I will see you in the next one. This has been The Ho-Ho Show. For more information, you can head to thehohoshow.com. And for the merchandise store, you can head on over to... Wait. Don't forget, get out and vote. We got 9 days left before election. I don't know when early voting shuts down in your area. Get out and vote. Get out and vote. I don't care your excuses. Get out and vote. If you don't think you can make it on election day, bank your vote early. If you haven't done so already, go vote in person. That is the best way to go ahead and do it. Otherwise, if you can't, that's fine. Mail in your ballot. I'm sure you got one mailed out to you. Get out and vote. Get out and vote. Please. The nation needs you. Get out and vote. Thank you. That's all I got. I'll see you in the next one. And I'm really gone this time. This has been The Ho-Ho Show. For more information, you can head to thehohoshow.com. And for the merchandise store, you can head on over to stinkpickle.com. That is stinkpickle.com. Until next time.